Hi, Carlos.
Hey Deb, how are you?
Okay, how are you?
Not too bad. How was the day going?
It's been nutty. We are busy.
I can imagine.
Our bathrooms are almost done though.
Yeah, I'm excited
We
for that. When's
intermittently use them when they're not in there working. So they're operational and
yeah.
Friday's the last day or they start getting fined for non-completion. So they're painting today, so they're just touch up. So I'm thinking tomorrow they'll be
Good.
operating, at least the men's room. So that's
Well, that's good. No
yeah.
more porta johns. I'm sure you're happy about that.
Well,
Getting rid of the
yeah,
porta
I had
johns.
them today. I couldn't get into the bathroom because they were painting, but I think we're at the end of that. Like it's enough now. We've used the porta johns long enough now.
Good.
You know?
Good. Good.
So
Good.
I'm happy we can move away from that. And you have to come in the town hall and look how different it looks without the wall up.
Yeah. What happened to me? No, I'm looking forward to it. What am I doing here? Did I disappear?
You're there.
Yeah. Do you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Huh. I can't see anybody.
Did you change the view
That's it.
or something?
I was trying to change the background.
Um,
It's all right.
we can see you.
Perfect.
I can
No,
see
I
you.
plan on going to town hall this week.
I don't know who
We'll
else is
take a
jumping
look.
on. I don't know. Andrew's probably in the room and Victoria might be in the room and they're probably chit chatting. They'll let us in a minute.
Yep. No rush. Anything new on this? I didn't. I saw the presentations they're going to use,
I don't know. I
but
know there's a request for information that's been on my desk. I was on vacation, so I don't. I think he's probably trying to get some information to finish everything up.
okay. All right. Then we move on to the next step, whatever that is.
Yeah, just keep it moving.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Anything new on the whole insurance thing for the baseball camp for the baseball field? I know Kylie had reached out saying that well, if he came into a resolution, I told her you and I were talking about it.
I don't know. I put it on the selectmen's meeting for Monday night to discuss changing it and sign the agreement without insurance because I guess Jared didn't have an issue with it. I don't know. I just want to make sure FFA has an okay with it. Which
Yeah,
you
they
gave
were gonna
me.
send over the meeting minutes directly
Yeah.
to you.
So
So
it's on selectmen's meeting Monday, so it should be all set. You should be all set. I'm reading something at the same time here.
okay,
Multitasking.
perfect. Have you looked at the applications for the HR thing? HR director.
Hey, I just looked at them today and I agree with you. I like the ones that you liked. The new ones that came in today.
Yeah, yeah, they seem like they have a strong background. Yeah, John
There's
looked okay, but he's been. It seems like he's bounced around so much the past.
something's up with that, not sure. Um, there's one that we're waiting for that she just retired from Brockton. And she might be looking for part-time.
Okay.
And that might be
Oh, great.
I'm just gonna message Victoria.
I'm here. We're
Oh, all
here.
right.
She just came on.
I
Yeah,
was like,
sorry, we're getting set up.
Hi, Victoria.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Carlos. Nice to meet you.
Good. How you guys doing? Likewise.
Good. Alrighty, so, I'll call the meeting of the Sewer Line Extension Committee to order, time being 3:35 PM, and a quorum being present. Okay, and then we have, Andrew from EP, do you guys need to start your meeting? Are you- You're good, okay, all right, perfect, and then Andrew, I'll let you take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you, Victoria. I'll just put my agenda up on the screen here. All right, perfect. Deb, Carlos, can you guys see that all right? Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
I think it's fine.
Awesome. So yeah, just wanted to give everybody an update as far as where we stand on the Sonnet sewer extension. So we've been working on the final design for expanding sewer in this area. We submitted our 50% design plan specs estimate in late June, coinciding with the MassWorks grant schedule for this project. So I know we'd sent over the plans and specs and estimate along with an RFI letter, just requesting some feedback. I think the only person that responded, I know Victoria, you shared the comments that Chandler had. He had some comments on the RFI letter. I just wanted to just kind of have it open it up and see if there was any feedback from any folks as far as what we provided. I know obviously it's 50%, so you know there's a lot of details specifically related to the pump stations that need to be defined. But you know, overall, I just wanted to get some consensus on the approach and just make sure, you know, we're giving you folks what you're looking for and, you know, making sure we're moving in the right direction here.
I don't have anything specific, any comments on the plans themselves. I don't know if anyone else had any feedback.
I'm all set from how we're doing.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, we have the two stations that we've been talking about, you know,
Mhm.
combination of gravity sewer, force main piping. Again, you know, the plan was to utilize the existing 8-inch on South Main Street like we've been talking about. So, you know, I think the actual collection system piece is a little more cut and dry. It's more the pump stations that I think are the item here for further discussion. So,
But we voted for that anyway.
yes, we did the building for South Main, so I guess to that point, I know the exterior building feedback, we had requested Mary from the Historic Commission at our last meeting to give us feedback on her aesthetical preferences. Haven't heard from her. I mean, I know we've made multiple attempts to reach out. You know, I think just talking before we jumped on this call, you know, I know there was a photo that circulated as far as what United can do, as far as, you know, architectural preferences. There was one I can share on my screen, that I think is probably closest to what's out there. See if I can share this. Just give me a second here. So this is the one that I think Victoria had shared, you know, as far as closest look and aesthetical look, you know, kind of look to what's out there. Obviously, this is a much larger building than what we would be anticipating here for our pump station. We'd be looking at something in the lines of a 16 by 12 footprint. As we talked about, you know, we'd have a generator inside of the building, so it just need to be designed to handle you know, running a generator inside of an enclosed space, so there'd have to be louvers and exhaust fans and ventilation to accommodate that. But in general, you know, this would be kind of the aesthetic look that a precaster like United could provide. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Carlos or Deb, just looking at this.
Well,
Well,
Mary's not gonna be happy with anything that isn't pretty much a replica, and I'm okay with the replica. But I'm gonna tell you, like, my thought was a scaled down replica, right? Like a much smaller building, and I talked to her about that, and she said, no, she wants the same size building, which I just don't see why we would spend money on that.
Right.
But I think the front elevation needs to look somewhat similar. And this is getting closer, but still not at all like what was there. And I guess my only other thought process was to take something from the same period of time and make it look similar, but I know she's gonna constantly fight us on this. So I don't know how we get around it. Is it something that we leave for now and leave open-ended? I don't know. I just know that I have spoken to her and she is not gonna, like I said, she wants a replica and I was okay with that, but now she wants the same size replica. And I'm like, why would we build such a big building? And it takes up the whole footprint of the lot. So that's really not workable because we have no parking place. We have no place to work from. So I was just thinking something's taking that and scaling it down. Does that make sense to anybody?
You would have to scale it down because you need to put a wet well and everything else outside the building and stuff, so there's no way you can build it the full slug of the lot.
Right, that's what I'm saying, like, and plus you wanna be able to park there while, you don't have to park on the street. So I don't know if that's possible to do something similar. I don't even know, once it's scaled down, if it would look like a replica, but,
I think once you scale it down, it's not gonna look right and belong in there. My thing would be better off, you'd be better off just put a fence around it and hide it. Than you are to try to build into it to make it look,
She's not gonna go for that,
and you got no choice.
you know?
Debbie, Mark Rosowski, is there any provision in the law that would allow the town to build something that does not conform to the historical commission or the regulations because it's health concern and public need? You know, not quite an eminent domain action, but something along that line that we could circumvent that.
I think you can. I don't think that our historical commission has that much teeth once we knock the building down. Victoria, do you know more about that?
I know about the actual building that's there. We have a demolition delay bylaw that the historical commission does have some sort of a say when you apply for the building permit to demolish that, which we did already apply for that, and they did miss their 60-day window to respond with comments.
And
So
they
they
did
do,
that intentionally.
yeah, regardless, they missed their window, so they have no teeth, as you put it, Deb, to sort of implement any conditions on that, as far as I know. But as far as construction of a new building in the historic district, I have no experience with. I do not believe, I don't know if that's more of it goes through like the state, because it's on the historic register, but I don't think we have a specific bylaw for construction in this district.
Right, like I think even like we're talking about the town hall and replacing the windows, there's no restriction on what I can put for windows. There's a courtesy that we offer to the historical commission and we do our best, but I don't think there's any bylaws that say I can't do X, Y, or Z, but I'll follow up on that.
Okay,
I mean, if that's the case, couldn't we just make a little replica of that building and put it there and say, there you go?
Not gonna look
Yes.
right. You're gonna still have the other building next door to it, it's
Oh, no, they're gonna tear
and you're gonna build a little teeny.
Yeah, but. I mean, we're certainly not gonna build a great big building to
You're
replace,
better off just put a fence up. And hide it.
well,
Well, and I think to your point, Steve, ultimately, that's what would happen, is that you're gonna have a much smaller building with a little driveway apron with the wet well and the valve vault, and then around the perimeter will be a fence.
Right.
So you're not gonna even see the building itself, you're gonna see a fence around the outside with the building
Keep
sticking
the
up.
roof
top.
sticking up out of the thing.
Exactly.
You're not gonna see the building.
Exactly.
You know, I also drove by, on Monday. And I noted, because Mary had stated, I believe at the last meeting, that brick was an unacceptable look for that historic district. And I also drove by and I put some eyes on Grandpa's Place, which is a gas station with pretty much a 1970s, circa 1970s
look,
brick building. So it's not even 100 yards down the road, you've got this building that pretty much looks like a pump station. It's a gas station, and, but we can't put something across the street. I think what it comes down to is, if there is the ability to, that the public need outweighs, there are certain circumstances where public need and Board of Health and Health outweigh historical considerations. And I'm not saying not to do something, but I mean, if it comes down to that, we cannot reproduce the building that's currently there. And have, unless the whole front of that building opens up and a truck can drive in.
You
I
have-
mean,
Then you have.
$1 million
you have to put a
later.
fence around it, no matter what, you have to put a fence around it.
right,
So it's not gonna look,
well,
even if you
no,
put
no.
that red brick house, you're still gonna put a fence around it.
Well, no, I mean, if we built the same facade that's there now, the same building, that building would become the fence. But that would be the exterior security aspect of it.
Mm.
And then we'd have a building, but it's nonsensical. I mean, it's not serviceable, it's not practical.
Either way, it's not cost
The water and
effective, yeah.
sewer department don't have, I mean, ultimately, this whole project gets installed with grant money,
Mm,
but it gets maintained by the customers.
mm.
And maintaining a building, that the historical commission may wanna implement, the cost of maintaining that building will make it prohibitive for us to provide services to the people who are gonna be, utilize the sewer.
Right. And I guess just from a schedule perspective,
Did we lose you?
I'm still here. I think we lost them.
I think we lost them. I see you, Carlos, but I lost them.
It's you as well. Hi, Deb.
Alright.
Do you want to hear from us?
I think we just need
No
to
replica.
design what we want.
Exactly. That's what I was just about to say. That hopefully we get back on because that's what I'm chiming in with.
Let me see if I'm gonna text Victoria.
Who knows? We may need to.
I was just shutting my camera off. 'cause I
log
didn't see you.
back in.
I'm here. I'm just getting a soda, Carlos.
I'm seeing if I can log back in on another Zoom meeting and see if they let me in.
Maybe, I don't know. Somebody must have hit a
Let's see.
button.
They want to hear from us.
I'm calling Victoria.
You like I'm
Hello?
trying to get
Can you still hear?
We can't. We get booted off or something. We're still here,
No,
but
something's wrong with my computer. But Andrew, you're still in?
I'm still in, yeah.
Did it make you the co-host? Cause Deb, it says you're still.
we're on there.
Still in. I'm gonna try going on my.
Yeah, can you unmute and unmute?
All right, who we have here? Can you see me, Victoria?
Yeah,
We can see you.
Andrew's
Okay.
on.
Sorry, we're just trying to get situated here. All right,
Okay, thank you.
can you guys hear us okay?
There you go. I see most of you.
Okay,
They can hear.
let me see.
Yes,
Is it-
can hear you now.
Oh, it still is.
It still says it's recording, so
Okay.
sorry about that. No, I don't know if you caught the tail end of our conversation. We lost the main computer here for Victoria, so I'm just on my laptop.
Okay. We can hear you now, though.
Okay.
Yes.
So I guess just getting back to our conversation. So, as far as a shrunk down version, Deb, what we were talking about as far as the existing building.
Yeah.
United could do something similar. It's just ultimately it's not going to look the same as what I think Mary's envisioning, which is that same size, same location. ultimately because one, you're gonna have a fence around it, and then two, that building needs to be shifted back to accommodate parking, the wet well, the valve vault in front, so.
Trucks coming in to do. their
And
thing.
maintenance vehicles coming in and out. So while they can replicate that same look, it just won't look the same as it does currently.
Well, thank God for that. I mean, there's trees going up.
Oh, I know it's not in the
Right.
best
It's
of
horrible
shape.
now, so
Yeah, right.
I think we do something, let me work on it. Maybe we just try to get something a smaller size replica or the same time frame. Maybe we go down I mean, there's different houses on Water Street, a gate, just a reverse gable,
Sure.
smaller house, and try to do something like that. But I agree. I mean, we're not gonna spend $1 million to put this pump station in, when, but we do want something that looks sort of the right time era, maybe, that can fit all of the components. So maybe if you can work up what I would have for a footprint, and I'll try to work with Mary. At the end of the day, I'm inclined to just say, look, it is what it is. We're still quite a ways away from being able to construct this thing, if at all, if I can't get grants. So I don't want to waste too much time on the details of this structure. If we just know what we need for the pump station and we say we're going to build some building around it, and the details possibly could be worked out later. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody.
Well, I think what I was saying earlier, Deb, was that, we haven't really progressed the design of this pump station setup just because we've been going back and forth on, architectural look and features and whatnot. So I just want to make sure we're adhering to the MassWorks grant schedule, right? So, if we can get some sort of clarification that say, yeah, a smaller building of the same look is good, please proceed. We can work with United on that and just go with that approach. I didn't want to get too far ahead of myself if we have to get an architect involved or something, but I don't want to have to go that route. I mean, ultimately what I'd like to try to do is keep this as standardized and as cost effective as we can by going with a smaller footprint for a building and not having to go bigger than necessary. So I guess, how much time do you think you need to work on with Mary to get this confirmed, the smaller building of the same look?
So you're saying you could maybe do a smaller building, the same look of what's there?
Correct. I could work with United to give a similar look
I
of the
think that's
building
the
that's there.
best that you can do. So what I will do is I will follow up with the requirements in the historical zone. And I will confirm that what I believe to be true is that we don't really have any requirements, or I'll get the requirements and I'll get them to you. If you can do something that's somewhat replica, like I'm thinking it's got the 4 windows, it probably only have 2 windows, it's gonna be smaller. Similar but smaller in size, I think that makes the most sense, and I think you can proceed. I'm just gonna follow up with the rules for that zone, the historical zone, because that is zoned village historical, whatever, business
Okay.
is what it's zoned. So I just want to make sure that the zoning is appropriate and I get you that information so that it can be worked at, it might be that it has to be that red color or it has to be this or that. I don't know
Sure.
details,
No,
but I'll
that's
get that and I'll get that to you in a few days.
in a few days. Okay. Yeah. And I think what we were talking about, Deb, from a footprint perspective, I think at the last meeting, we talked about like a 16 by 12 would be pretty much like the smallest we could potentially get this thing. Because the other thing we have to be cognizant of is the bathroom requirement, which I know we've talked about before, is that, in Massachusetts now you're required to put a bathroom in greater than 200 square feet. So really 16 by 12 is kind of the smallest we could go with a generator inside. And even that is pretty tight to begin with.
But we can waive the bathroom, right? Because we're here with the town hall.
So I asked that question to the plumbing inspector. I think Victoria gave me the contact info after our last meeting. He indicated he wouldn't be able to waive it, that it'd have to go through a variance process with the state board. So he's claiming his hands are tied because the board would have to weigh in on whether or not they'd grant that exemption.
Okay, and I think a 16 by 12 is kind of small to get any kind of replica. It's gonna look funky, so you might need to go a little bit bigger anyway.
I mean, they can provide one with a bathroom, just obviously bigger footprint, but
Well, I put
again,
the septic, I mean, then it would, I mean, I guess to the bathroom if you
you
get the
could tie
sewer.
into the wet well. Yeah, right. Right.
Because
I
otherwise we
mean,
don't have a bathroom. I mean, we don't have
Yeah.
any septic there.
I mean, functionality wise, I agree. I mean, it's more functional to have a bigger building and just put the bathroom in, so that way you have more room to work inside versus trying to squeeze everything into a 16 by 12. Unfortunately, that's just the way the regs are now, is they make you put a bathroom in for, even for these unoccupied buildings.
They're down without bathrooms. We have 40 pump stations, there's only 3 of them with bathrooms.
I would design it as such, and I don't have a problem taking my chances on getting the variance. I mean, I would design it with the bathroom. We could just take it out. I think
Okay.
I think we definitely could get a variance. But for purposes of moving forward, design it with the bathroom. I will work on, you know, if and when the time comes, I think the caveat will be we go for the variance where we're right here. I mean, the town hall is right here. So,
Okay.
does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think to your point, Steve,
It
you
does.
know, a lot of the existing pump stations, you're right, they don't typically have bathrooms. You really don't need it. What we found is with new installations, the plumbing board is, or I should say the plumbing inspector is falling back on the mass building code, the new plumbing code requirements to have a bathroom from unoccupied spaces. So now you have to adhere to that code. Even though technically, like you said, most pump stations, you don't need it. In my personal opinion, I think it's complete overkill because a lot of these stations, especially water booster stations, are out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, right. So, and especially in our case where we're so close to town hall, but that's fine, Deb. I think we proceed with putting the bathroom inside. We make this a little more functional, and make this footprint work, you know, for the site that we have.
Should the committee take a vote on that, just so we can?
Yeah, so we should also, instead of maybe coming up with the state that, an architectural design, just leave it, I don't know, monetary contingency in there. For if an architectural design is, you know, amendments are necessary, and vote on it and you know, move the process along. Because we can't, you know, we can't just put this on hold until a historical commission decides
Right.
to call a meeting.
Agreed. I agree with that.
Agreed. That's we're not gonna be waiting on the Historic Society. We'll work with them, but we're not gonna wait either.
Yep.
Well, but just for the record, I'm very disappointed that since our last meeting here a month ago, the chair of the historical commission has not called a public meeting to discuss this matter.
Could we at least try to see if we could get it waived anyway? I mean, if most pump stations don't have bathrooms.
So we can certainly go that route. The problem is that if they deny the variance, then we're back to putting a bathroom in. And, you know, I hate for us to go down the road of designing the station with no bathroom and then at the last minute during construction, find out that we need a bathroom and then have to work with a contractor on a change order. At least if we have it in there, we could always, you know, not install it or work with the contractor to make it smaller down the road. So, yeah, no, like I said, it's been frustrating even on our jobs because we've had projects that were designed before the code change, but were constructed afterwards. And they're even not even considering that as an exemption.
Oh, wow.
So we had it was similar situation, precast building built off site. The project was designed in 2021, 2022. The building was brought to the site in early 24 after the code changes in late 23. But because when they brought the building in and pulled the permit, it was done after the code was already brought into compliance. They said, nope, you got to put a bathroom in. So we ended up having to rework our building to actually put a bathroom in. We call it the $30,000 toilet because basically that's what it came down to when you talk about, you know, union plumber and, you know, fittings and all that good stuff to connect it in. So, but okay, no,
Sorry.
no, please.
So do we want to take a vote on that then to move forward with what did you call it? The precast building, but to look similar to what's out there now, and that if it needs how did you word it, Mark? If it needs architectural.
Monetary contingency for aesthetics,
Okay.
for aesthetic improvements, for
Okay.
architectural improvements.
Okay, and Carlos, are you an official member of the committee now? Were you appointed and sworn in, or are you just joining in as?
No, I'm here as a Board of Health representative.
Okay, just
I'm
making
all-
sure.
I'm all set. Yeah.
Hey, guys,
Thank
just,
you.
I pulled up the bylaws for village business, which is what this is. Can you hear me?
Yep.
And it says that it encourages the rehabilitation of existing structures and new buildings with high architectural standards that is compatible with the historic development pattern that gives a Sonnet Village their special character. New development should meet the following design guidelines. Any extension, alteration, or reconstruction of existing buildings should reflect the original design insofar of the building design, siding, material, and texture, color, and bulk, and should result in a harmonious blend of new and old. Use of brick, clapboard, shingle, masonry, or non-reflective material is encouraged. And that's what it says. It says uses by right and special are encouraged but not required to meet these. So that's the only thing in the regulations. So it says it's encouraged. It doesn't say you have to. So I think we do the best we can to meet that, right? To give it the same flair that is in the area from the era that it was built. And we maybe use the same materials like the clapboard on the outside as opposed to something else. But it doesn't say it has to be a replica. It doesn't say any of that. And there's no absolute requirement here.
Okay. Well,
So-
that's encouraging.
So, and that was my thought, is that
Yep.
while they would like it to be that way, there is no absolute, some districts have like, it has to be either yellow, red, or green, there's not, that's not in there.
Okay. So why don't we do this, Deb? Why don't we go on the premise that we'll work with United to match the look to the best of our ability to what's out there existing. And assume, like we talked about, that we'd have a bathroom for the building design. Does that sound right?
I think that's that's the best way to move the project forward.
Okay.
At this time. And, like I said, I'm not afraid to ask for a variance, but I'd rather just eliminate the bathroom at the time if we can, but if we can't, we're prepared to put it in.
Right. And like we've talked about, this is the only one that has a building. Obviously the Alexandria Drive, that's just a standard below grade pump station, above ground enclosure generator. So there's no enclosure on that one. It's just this 4 South Main that we're talking about.
Okay.
So did we want to take a vote on that? Or do we need a vote?
I would say so, Victoria, if everybody's in agreement here.
Okay. So I will, or does somebody have a motion? Does somebody want to make a motion? Do you want me to?
Not everybody speak at once.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion to work with United to the best of their ability to match what is existing and include the design for the bathroom in case we do not get a waiver.
I'll second that motion. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
did we vote? Did everybody vote?
Oh, I'm sorry, roll call, Deb Petty,
Yes.
Steve Tripp.
Yeah.
Bob Parker,
Yes.
Mark Rosowski.
Yes.
And Victoria Alfaro, yes. Motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you. All right. Let me put my agenda back on the screen here. All right. So we talked about the look, we talked about the feedback a little bit. So again, if there's any comments on the 50% plans, the specs, the estimate that I sent over, just pass it along to me. We'll proceed with progressing this to the 90% stage. I think the other thing that as part of that progression was just getting some feedback on was the RFI letter, which I know had a lot of design preference type items. Steve, I know you have a pretty long history background working at pump stations and know what you like, what you don't like. So, I was thinking maybe that might be a good opportunity for you to comment on kind of some things that you want to see and include. I don't know if you got the RFI or if you want me to share it with you.
Andrew, I've got the RFI and I've answered the ones that I can answer. So what I can do is just fax
Okay.
it, email it over to you.
Yeah.
It's not the design questions, but more of the logistics.
Yep.
Questions, or I can email it to the whole committee, just so they can see, like, a noise, we don't have a noise ordinance, things
Yep.
like that. They just answered those ones that I could answer.
Yep. Yeah, no, again, I figured, collectively, if we can get, everybody's feedback, call it within the next week or so, that'd be great. So that way we have everything on record and make sure we're incorporating into the final design. So I just thought, with Steve's background experience, it
Yeah.
might be better suited for some of the pump
I want to
station.
go over some of those, Steve and Mark and Bob,
Yeah.
while you have them, you might want to go over some of those.
Yeah, sure.
Those, because I can't help you, really.
Let me actually pull it up here.
There you are, Carlos. I'm like, did I lose you?
All right, here we go.
Still here.
So I know you guys can't see it, but no, it's okay. So we talked about the architectural preferences, preferences for the station. So, pump manufacturer. I know typically Flight is used on a lot of submersible pump stations. I don't know if there's a preference to go with Flight or standardize around a certain manufacturer. I mean, we can keep it open to 3 manufacturers. It's really more of a preference thing more than anything.
I have nothing.
Yeah, who makes the thing?
But no preference one way or the other as far as like it has to be this manufacturer or.
No,
I know you
don't.
That's trying to match compatibility with existing systems.
Okay.
So, because these will be.
We have Kohler generators,
Kohler generators.
so it'd probably be good to stick with them.
Yep.
right?
That was on my list.
How do you spell that?
Kohler.
Oh, okay.
Same thing with the pump control panel. I mean, typically that could either be provided by the pump manufacturer as part of their system, or it could be provided by the electrician as part of the scope. Again, that's usually a preference thing, but I had figured I have to ask in case there was a strong preference one way or the other. Okay. Features for the pump station, wet well control. I mean, typically, again, this is community by community, but level transducer or backup floats is kind of the standard.
But we don't have any, so whatever's the best thing to do.
Site lighting, flow meter on the force main. I don't know if that's something that you guys want to have. I mean, otherwise you just go with pressure gauges to figure out what your flows are. Again, it's
Were you asked about lighting?
site lighting. That's pretty standard, a spotlight or a standard light at the station for maintenance purposes.
I know what, like, the planning board, there are sites where you just try not to have the light, like, spread off. Site.
Sure. Yeah, we can do like a downward facing to the wet well, and a standard light on the outside of the building is what I'd envision for the Force South Main. Flow meter, again, that's for so these are smaller stations. I mean, you can argue you probably don't really need it for the Force South Main with the minimal amount of flow. The only one you might be interested in is the one at 23 Alexandria, so you know what's actually getting sent to Fall River. That might be valuable information to have.
Well, both are going to Fall River, right?
Correct.
One's gonna pump to the other one.
One's going to pump to the other one, and then yeah.
Oh, and that's go for Fall River. One at Alexander.
Okay.
There's gonna be a security fence around the court.
Yep. Yeah, I had that on there. The odor control canisters, again, on the wet well vents, just for odor purposes, always kind of good standard practice. Yep. Yard hydrant for washdown purposes, again, that's more of a maintenance thing. If you like being able to wash the wet well out or clean out equipment. So probably not necessary.
Well, that requires running a water line.
I wouldn't say you need an outside one anyhow. If you're gonna put a bathroom in, you're gonna have a faucet.
You can have a faucet and a spigot. Okay, no, that's fine. No hydrant there, yep.
They leak anyhow and it's gonna freeze and you're gonna have issues with it all the time.
If we're gonna have water for the bathroom, you have enough water to wash.
When it comes to the bathroom, you have to have the sink too, so it comes.
Yeah.
So odor, yes. Hydrant, no. Discharge pressure gauge on force main. This was really more if you didn't want the flow meter, usually you go pressure gauge what your flow rates are. So that's an easy add. And then,
Up on the other one anyway.
yeah, right. And then bollards, again, that's just for protection, more for the building and pertinent for the 23 Alexandra, you want to put bollards around your enclosure and your generator. That's pretty standard. So I think the 4 South Main, maybe we might want to talk about bollards because that look might not be great with everybody. So and then the generator type at 4 South Main. I know at 23 Alexandra Drive, there's gas on the street. There's not gas at 4 South Main. So is there a preference, diesel versus propane?
Weird.
Propane, okay.
With the exception, I think, of, I would.
Yeah, most problems anyway with propane.
Yep.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the fuel doesn't go stale.
Yeah.
Gonna deal on the, and if we got, just put in.
Alarms from each site, typically for small stations like this, we always go with like a cellular or auto dialer system. I mean, that's cheap and easy to manage. Yep.
You said you already have some people on call, don't you? Doesn't it
We
call?
have, that's what we have at our water pump station.
Okay, so you're already familiar with that.
Same thing. Every water sewer in your house, it's gonna call in your house.
Okay, no, that makes it easy. Fencing, I think we talked about this last time, but chain link, I think we said, was it you, Mark, who mentioned you wanted the privacy slats?
Oh, for Alexandra Drive, it probably makes sense to put privacy flats on all of them. In Alexandra. I mean, the only thing is you can't see, from a security standpoint, what do you think? You can't see in. Once you put the privacy slats up around the fence. So
Right.
Does it make sense not to have them in Alexandra?
I think,
I think the gentleman, Mr. Tripp lives in Alexandra. What would you rather ride by?
I think Chandler had indicated wrought iron with wrought iron fence, but again, that's up for discussion. Doesn't have to be answered today.
Yeah,
But a wrought iron fence is open.
Right.
I think he was more thinking about like aesthetics for the 4 South. Main.
4 South
He
Main.
also-
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And again, some of this I know is up for discussion because it's more aesthetic than it is purpose. But again, I think the intent here would be you want a fence at both pump stations. Yep. A shelf spare third pump, again, pretty standards, have one on the shelf in case one dies out or you have it ready to go. At the water booster stations, is there a call out for the fire alarm? I didn't know if like you guys have like individual call outs to reach the fire department if there's an issue or.
Yeah, I think it goes to the police dispatch anyway.
Okay,
So I'm pretty sure that, they would call the fire department. I don't know I don't know if it goes directly to the fire department.
okay. Maybe that one we can get further clarification on based on what's done at other stations, just emulate. If there is a separate call out, we can provide it. If not, it'll just be through the auto dialer.
It's all auto dialers from them.
That's all it is from the booster stations. Okay, all right. The wet well and the valve vault in the driveway or outside of the driveway. So I think we've talked about this a little bit. So within your paved access driveway for the pump stations, when you're bringing trucks in, having the wet well and the valve vault right there or having them outside of that space. I mean, I think in general, you want to try to maximize that space the best you can. So if you can put it flush to grade or keep it just above the asphalt, it's not, you can park a truck over it, but I mean, you can kind of get right up to it versus keeping it separate. So I think that was the intent there. I think that's what Will had wrote was basically just, if you had to separate them, it'd require more space, but
For the valve on,
for the valve vault and the wet well.
Wet well has to be elevated anyhow, doesn't it, because of the flood zone?
Yeah, you could elevate it or you can go with like a flood tight hatch to make it flush to grade. So it could be within the flood zone, but you just got to make sure the hatches are watertight.
whatever you think, Steve, that's your department.
I would have went with the above grade one.
Above grade.
What's the footprint of the valve vault and the well?
Let me pull up the drawings here, because I know we were looking at sizes.
I don't know if it's square.
So the wet well at Alexandra, we were looking at, it was a 6-foot diameter wet well. And then the valve vault, because we assumed you had, you know, piping, valves, bypass connection all inside, we were looking at a, what is it? This says 6x4. And I mean, again, we're looking at something rectangular, like a box that's below grade. So somewhere in that range, I'd say, you know, approximately 6x4 footprint for the valve vault, and then 6 foot for the wet well.
And how about it's a 4 South Main?
4 South Main would be smaller because you have a smaller piping and smaller wet well. So probably, if I had to guess, 5-foot wet well and maybe a 5x3, you know, or 5x4 valve vault.
10 or 12 feet by 6 feet nominally of space.
Right. I mean, if you have it flush to grade, you can do that. You just got to make sure the hatches are H20 loaded and, you know, rated for that to drive over. If you have them elevated, you don't necessarily have to have them H20 rated if you didn't need to. And again, the 4 South Main, you want to make sure that's flood tight regardless. If it's below the flood zone, you want to make sure it's flood tight, unless you put it high enough, which I think in our case is several feet above, which I don't think we want to put 3 foot, 4 foot high wet well cover there. So, I mean, if you're okay with it, I can just leave the,
Flood all the way over there anyhow.
yeah, I can leave it above the finished grade, just so there's a little bit of a lip on it.
House behind it, new septic system, I mean, it's gonna be. They need to build the whole backyard up.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fill it in, make the septic, new septic system on top.
Yeah.
So I don't see how the water's ever gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gone through Grampy's place, the school before.
Yeah, but I've never seen it come up to 103.
That's what I said.
All the way up there.
No, I mean, either way, it doesn't really make much of a difference.
Yeah,
If you'd rather have it at grade, but I mean.
yeah, like I said,
At grade, at least it's something less than the guy has to.
Serviceability, you don't have to climb into it.
Right.
right,
You know, you open it up, you climb down versus climbing up and down.
right. Like I said, I've seen it both ways. I mean, you could have it at the same finish grade, so it's something you could drive over and make it more compact, or if you want it raised up a little bit higher.
Yeah, but you need to, you gotta put the winch in there, the winch, the pumps back.
Correct.
Too, so.
Yep.
You're not gonna be driving over it anyhow with that, if that thing's gonna be, you know, you mount the flange thing on the bottom, so you stick the pole in it.
For the davit, yeah.
So. Either way, it doesn't make a difference.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we can start by putting a little bit of a lip on it.
Cheapest one's gotta be the level, the ground level one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just whatever the riser, 6 inches or a foot, you know, whatever that cost is. I mean, it's minimal.
Now, the things come, was this, like you said, the.
davit,
and
Yep.
Stuff that all comes.
well, we would provide that, or the contract would provide that as part of this. Yep. The work hours, I'm assuming, Deb, you're gonna provide feedback on that.
Yeah, I think they were okay. I just put yes on them.
Okay. Yeah, I think some of these other questions were kind of more in your territory. The noise ordinance we talked about,
Yeah, we
the
don't-
water usage.
Yeah, I'm up in the air on that. I'm just not sure how we would pay for it, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna say, let them pay for it, yes. I mean, Bob and Mark might have more input, but I don't know how else we have, because we have to pay Fall River for our water. So we don't have our own well, you know, so yes,
Right.
they're gonna have to pay, I guess, at least keep track of and pay for their water.
Right.
It's gonna be a water meter in the building.
Hmm?
You're just gonna have a water meter in the building.
Yeah.
Or the other place.
We end up waiving this anyway.
Yep.
But we'll have a meter there, at least we'll know what's being used.
Very little.
Hmm?
Very little.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this 9 and 10 charging what contractor for water and then testing and certifying a backflow preventer and flow meter, that's really more for the cleaning of that 8-inch pipe, more so than the actual usage. Because you're right, Steve, you're really not going to use a lot of water in that building. I think the comments were made here more so in terms of the construction work when they go to clean the 8-inch pipe out, because they're going to have to clean and inspect that line.
We have meters with backflow preventers on them that
You can lend.
that we can provide.
Okay.
As far as water usage, we might have to discuss that depending on what quantity. I mean, we're talking a few thousand gallons.
Only when the guy flushes the toilet, so.
No, we're talking about during the construction phase.
Well, like I said, I mean, you're talking almost 2 miles worth of force main that would have to be flushed.
1,000 gallons of water. How much are we talking about?
It adds up quick.
I mean, if you could give us an idea, we could.
Sure.
We could determine whether or not we have to come up with some sort of fee structure, or if we can, absorb it.
Paying it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's always more conservative just to put it on the contractor and say, hey, you're responsible for providing the water. You're responsible for providing the flow meter.
I mean, well,
You
no,
know.
we don't allow contractors to, if you wanna take water from one of our hydrants.
You have to use
you
your,
come to us,
okay,
and we provide the meter with a black back with our backflow preventer. We don't allow,
gotcha.
we no longer, you can't tie into a meter unless you're a fire department. Other than the fire department, nobody, or the highway department, nobody has access to our meters without going through us and using our.
Gotcha.
our equipment.
Okay, so town will provide the meter and the backflow. We'll get you the gallonage on the water so we can make a decision on the charging the water, if that's going to be in the contract or not.
It also depends on how big a line they need to fill the main to flush it, because we certainly don't have an 8-inch.
They don't need, yeah, but they don't need it.
It would just be enough just to flush. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ideally, the thought would be this thing is capped and has minimal debris in it. So you're talking a couple passes with the jet nozzle just to make sure it's all cleaned and ready for camera inspection. Ideally. Yeah. Right. Noise ordinance, Deb, you talked about, there's not one in town, so I think we're all good there. Steel plates for trenches, is that allowed in town, or is the intent to always backfill and
No,
pave before
they-
leaving?
I don't know. I've seen them use them in town, but that would be the highway.
Depending on the season.
Right, and it depends on the roadway too, I'm sure, yeah.
Home in the winter.
That'd have to be the truck at the highway department.
I mean, we've used steel in the past. I've used it myself when I tapped the water main on Nottingham, Freeman Circle. So I know he allows the steel plates.
I know MassDOT won't, and their right of way, they're pretty strict, obviously, with making sure you backfill and temp pave every day. That's a MassDOT thing though, within their highway layout. I mean, the remainder is obviously town owned, so.
Yeah, I think we're fine with steel.
Well, that's the thing, depending on depth, they might say flow fill is required as well. Although we have been able to get exemptions on that if we're deep enough. If you're shallow, they want flow fill, but I think it's up to a certain point. I have to double check that.
We're gonna be off the side of the road for most of this project, right? I mean, it's not gonna be down the center of the road.
So the way we had shown the approach for the force main and the collection system, we were going to utilize either one lane or try to be in the center to try to stay away from existing utilities.
Okay, so we're gonna be in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
I think that steel plates are fine. Just with a time limit, right? Like they can't have
Sure.
steel plates there for, 2
Yep.
weeks.
Right. Right. And like I said, the intent is to not have steel plates for long durations. It's just, at the end of the day, if they have to put a steel plate down before they come back the next day versus having to backfill and pave. So.
Yeah, I know I've done them myself on South Main Street, so I know they're allowed. I know Chuck he'll be fine with whatever. He
Yep.
always-
I guess item 15 is kind of probably in his wheelhouse too, the minimum pavement thickness for roads. I mean, obviously, we found some varying paving thickness in the borings. MassDOT's gonna have their required pavement thickness. You know, I don't know if that's a Chuck question, Deb, to ask him.
It is, I wanna say, why does 5 inches total come to mind, but I will ask Chuck. And I would
Okay.
tend to say we wanna stay with Mass DOT specs on that road, so it's Route 79, I mean, it is our main road, you know?
Okay, yeah, just let me know what he says and we'll make sure to match that in the spec.
Okay.
Message boards for traffic control purposes. I mean, usually we always specify a couple on a project like this.
I would say at least 2,
I would say one at each end, yeah.
yeah, that's what I would say too.
Won't be free now.
If need be, I have my own as well.
Overtime. Couple of the old retired guys do, but other than that, regulars don't.
And then I think the last one was just guardrails, which I think is, I mean, we really shouldn't have a need for guardrails, but if they arise, you know, steel or wood, you know, I know some communities like the wood look versus steel, but I don't really
We
foresee
have a
this.
need, and I think if we did that, that will be that'll have to go to the historical commission, that'll be another nightmare. I think you'd have to match the ones that are on the bridge over there on the bridge with that steel painted stuff, whatever. it is.
Yeah,
Why would there?
I think it was just more or less in case, like, if we decided not to go with a fence or if we needed to add guardrail around a certain intersection. I mean, I don't foresee there being a need for one, so yeah, I don't think this will be a problem.
It's a brain system. It's
Yeah. It really shouldn't have a need for one. So again, it doesn't usually come up, but I know some communities really don't like steel. They only want you to go wood. So, but that was really it. I think that essentially addressed all of the RFI comments. So aside from a couple that Deb, I know you said you're going to follow up on. So,
Yeah, I'm texting Chuck now, see if he answers me.
okay. All right. Perfect. Well, no, that helps. So we talked about the RFI, we talked about the feedback, the schedule for MassWorks. Obviously, you know, we've talked about it at previous meetings, you know, making sure that, you know, we're on schedule here to get the final design plans in by next year. And I guess just Carlos, just for your reference, you know, this is kind of the schedule that we're working with here. You know, this is right from the MassWorks grant.
Perfect. Let's do everything we can to stay on track with that schedule, and we should be good to go.
Yep. The City of Fall River Communication, I know at the last meeting we talked about confirming that the letter went out to Paul Furland at the City of Fall River. I think, Deb, were you able to confirm that letter went
Yeah,
out?
it did go out, Luann sent it out.
Okay. We never got a response back though, huh?
I never got anything.
Do you want me to follow up with Paul and see if he can put something in writing as a formal response?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. We talked about the building inspector communication. You know, as I said earlier, he was pretty adamant about if we need a variance, it'd have to go to the plumbing board, but since we've talked about putting a bathroom in, it should be a moot point now. Yeah, and I guess other than that, you know, schedule wise and next steps, you know, so we'll take this feedback, continue along to progress to the 90%. And, you know, as you get those answers in, Deb, you know, feel free to send them my way and we'll go from there.
Chuck just sent me back that he would prefer 5 inches of asphalt.
5 inches, okay.
What I recall, but yeah, he confirmed that.
Okay, that works. Any other questions before we talk about our next meeting?
Yeah.
No.
So I guess if we're in line with our next meeting, we'd be looking at the 28th.
Of August, I'm gonna be on vacation.
Can try for a week earlier if that helps. 21st.
Okay.
Let me just double check my calendar. Yep. Yeah, 21st would work for me. I know you won't be here, Victoria, but
Yeah.
I'm looking at you like you're the one who's gonna be scheduled.
Station can check something.
The room is booked until 3:30, so it might with a library program, so that might be tight to try and them packing up after their program and everything.
I mean, unless we want to go into September, I mean, if you want to do the 4th, I'm up,
Just virtual or
or virtual, yeah, if you didn't want to do it in person.
face? So maybe not virtual?
Okay.
Does it need to be on a Wednesday? Is Wednesday that you guys can do?
I'm available Monday through Friday.
Cause the 22nd, the police station is available.
I could do the 22nd. That works for you, Deb?
Yes, it does.
Okay, perfect. So we'll shoot for the 22nd at 3:30 at the police station. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's patience as I was going through all those items. I know it's a lot to digest, so thank you for your time, and we'll look to meet again in a month.
Debbie, you still there?
I'm here, yeah.
Would you forward that email I sent to you a couple of days ago to Carlos, please?
I think it's going on a selectman's agenda.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay, I think I emailed you back.
Unless you did it in the past hour or two, I haven't seen it.
Okay. All right, I think
All
I
right.
did that yesterday, so.
Okay, well, thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Committee just had minutes to approve. If you guys read them, we'll put them in the invite, in the calendar invite. Do you guys want to approve the minutes or we'll do it next time?
Motion to
I
approve.
can't.
Alright.
Seconded.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes as submitted. Roll call, Deb Petty,
Yes.
Stephen Tripp,
Yes.
Bob Parker,
Yes.
Mark Rozowski,
Yes.
Victoria Alfaro, yes, motion passes unanimously. If there's nothing else, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 4:31.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all right, thanks, Deb, thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Thanks, Carlos.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
See ya.